Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another car review. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for supporting the channel. We've reached over 5,000 subscribers, which is truly incredible to me. However, only about 4% of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you guys could subscribe, it would be a huge help. It's free and you can always unsubscribe later. So today we have a very special car to review. This is actually my dream car and I purchased it. A 2006 Cadillac XLR-V. As you guys probably remembered, I did review a 2009 XLR, which I loved. However, I really like the V trim of the XLRs. And today I'd like to show you guys why this is my favorite car and what all makes it so special. However, if you guys would like to know more of the general history about the XLR and maybe some more details that I won't cover in this video, please check out my 2009 XLR video. So, without further ado, let's begin with the review. I'd like to start off this video by first talking about the history of the V brand at Cadillac. Cadillac created the V brand in the early 2000s to fight their European counterparts, and Cadillac came out with 3 models to do that: the CTS-V, the STS-V, and then the XLR-V, which was at the top of the model range. The XLR-V was the halo car for Cadillac, their most expensive model, and at the time it was General Motors' most expensive car ever made. The XLR-V cost exactly $100,000 in 2006, which is an astounding number, and that would be actually $145,000 in today's money, which is a lot. Just like the CTS-V and STS-V, the XLR-V came with a supercharged V8 making over 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. It also came with bigger wheels, powerful brakes from the Corvette Z06, and magnetic ride control to make this a very sporty and track-focused vehicle. Cadillac came out with the first XLR-V in 2006 and production went until 2009. Since this car was only built for a few years and came with a very high price tag, they didn't make too many of these XLR-Vs, making them very rare, but also extremely exciting to see on the road today. So, beginning our review of the XLR-V at the front of the car, there are several things worth mentioning here. First of all, Cadillac gave the V XLRs a bulged hood in the middle to make more room for the supercharger. But as you guys may remember, the 2009 XLR I showed you also had this same hood. That's because Cadillac decided to make the XLR look more special for 2009. And Cadillac also gave the V cars this beautiful chrome mesh grille. It really helps to differentiate the look of the XLR-V with the regular XLR. It also became something that the V brand was known for having this mesh grille up front. Many Cadillac Vs had them throughout the years, all the way up until the 3rd generation CTS and the ATS-V. However, with the new Blackwing Cadillacs, they actually got rid of the chrome grille in favor of a more aerodynamic one. However, I really like the looks of this grille. It looks very classy because it's in chrome, but also sporty. And of course, there's a smaller chrome grille down at the bottom of the car. However, what is missing is adaptive cruise control. The V cars did not come with that just because they had to make room for the coolers to cool down the supercharger under the hood. And also on the front of the car is a beautiful looking Cadillac crest. There are washers for the headlights, and the headlights look very beautiful but also intricate. It's really cool. It says XLR on the top of the headlight. But with these changes that Cadillac made to the front of the car, it truly does look beautiful but also extremely aggressive. They did a fantastic job styling this car, and that's one of my favorite things about the XLR-V is just the way it looks. It looks like a fighter jet on the road. However, it also feels like a fighter jet when you're driving it, which I'm excited to do with you guys. However, the front end of this car I absolutely love. Now moving along to the side of the XLR-V, I'd first like to point out that the XLR-V came with special wheels. They're a little bit bigger than what came on the regular XLR, and they can also be optioned in chrome. And inside of the wheels are some very impressive brakes. The XLR-Vs actually came with the same brakes that came with the Corvette Z06, so you know these brakes are going to perform well when you need to stop quickly. And one of the reasons why the XLR-V received brakes from the Corvette is because the XLR and the XLR-Vs were made in the Bowling Green, Kentucky Corvette plant. There's actually a sticker within the door panel that says XLR Bowling Green Assembly on it. The XLRs and the XLR-Vs were the only non-Corvette vehicle to be built at the Bowling Green, Kentucky plant. And behind the wheel we have our beautiful V badge and the word supercharged along the door here. Absolutely beautiful looking in chrome. I love the look of the V badge. It looks almost like an American flag or something, red, white, and blue. Some other colors in there. It just makes me proud that this is such an impressive looking car, an impressive performing car. And the XLR also has a very large door. It is electronically operated. You push the pad in the door handle and then it'll open up for you and then you just close it shut again. And also on the door are these big mirrors. Unfortunately, my one complaint with them is that they aren't power folding. I do wish that they would fold in, especially when you're parking this expensive car into parking spots and parking lots. And then behind the door is a GM badge. General Motors kind of wanted to brand themselves a little bit with the vehicles that they made, just to remind people of what company owned their favorite brands. Now moving along to the back end of the Cadillac XLR-V, there is another V badge back here. There's also an XLR badge to show exactly what this car is, and there is a Cadillac badge within the taillight, which is a pretty unique place for them to put it. There are backup sensors on the bumper here, and there's also beautiful looking chrome exhaust tips at the bottom of the XLR, and also kind of hidden away on the bumper is a little door, and that's how you get into the car when the battery is dead on your XLR. And you can also get into the trunk from the back. There is a button to press here. And what's nice is the trunk opens up electronically, so it's very easy. No lifting required, it all does it on its own, which I do love for a Cadillac. And inside of the trunk, as you can see, there is a cargo divider here. That is for when the top is stored into the trunk, because this is a hardtop convertible. But with the cargo divider down, there is plenty of space, which is actually pretty surprising for a two-door car like this. There is a little cubby on the right side, so you can put some smaller items into there, which is nice to see. There is also the Cadillac script on the back sill of the trunk as well. And what's really nice is once you are ready to close the trunk, there is a button to do so. And once again, it does it all on its own. Much better than trunk pull down. Very luxurious. I love that this thing moves up and down on its own. Next, I'd like to walk you guys through the process of lowering and raising the top on this car. There is a button on the center console in the interior. To lower the top, you push the button down on the back side. First, the trunk will open in order to let the top go into the back. And after that, the top will slowly raise up and lower and fold down into the back of the trunk. The process looks very, very cool. It's a bit complicated looking, but the trunk will then lower back into place and it'll give you a very clean look on the outside of the car. No boot, no soft top here. However, once you're ready to raise the top up again, you press the front of that button. It's essentially the same process as putting the top down on the car, just in reverse order. However, the really cool thing is, once you raise the top, if you press up on that button again, both of the windows will raise into place in case if you wanted the windows to be closed. Really cool feature on the XLR. Next, I'd like to show you guys what is underneath the hood of the XLR-V. So the hood is pretty easy to open. There's a little latch there, and then boom, opens up like so. So underneath the hood is a V8 supercharged Northstar motor. This engine produces about 443 horsepower and 414 pound-feet of torque. Definitely impressive numbers to make this car very sporty and very quick on the road. And that's also a lot more power than what you'd find in the regular XLR with a regular V8 Northstar motor, and that produced about 320 horsepower. However, many people did complain that the XLR and the XLR-V did not receive an LS motor. However, I think that the Northstar engine helps to differentiate the Cadillac from the Z06, so I think it's actually pretty smart that they put the Northstar in here. And taking a closer look at the engine bay, I first of all really like the engine cover on the Northstar engine here. It looks absolutely gigantic, like it has a ton of power, it's very aggressive, and on top of that engine cover is a V badge and the Cadillac badge. But General Motors was pretty proud of what they accomplished underneath the hood of the XLR-V, and to show that, they added a GM Performance badge on the front of the engine bay. Pretty neat location for it. I am glad that they put that there. It's kind of a nice attention to detail. All right, let's start at the XLR-V and see how she sounds. All right, before we take a look at the interior of the XLR, I would like to show you guys the keys that came with the car. This is really neat because it's actually a Bulgari designed key fob. Cadillac actually teamed up with Bulgari to do some work with the XLR just to make it a little bit more special, and that included doing work on this key fob. As you can see, there's this little metal ring right in the center of it, and then in the middle of that it says Bulgari, which I think is really neat. Looks very nice. This key fob is made out of rubber, so it did kind of wear pretty poorly over the years, which is a shame with these softer key fobs. They do feel nicer, but they do tend to wear more easily. Anyways, on the key fob, as you can see, it says XLR on it. There is a lock and unlock button and a trunk opener button. Unfortunately, there is no way to lower the top from the outside of the car, which I think is a shame, and there also isn't any auto start on the XLR, which I do wish it had, but anyways, that is the key fob. Overall, pretty nice. I love the design. Okay, now that we've taken a good look at the exterior of the XLR-V, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Now, looking at the interior of this XLR-V, it is very nice. First of all, I love the interior beige color in this car. It's really nice to have a lighter colored interior, especially when you have the top down and the sun beating down on it. In regards to the materials in here and what Cadillac did for the XLR-V, they did actually give the XLR-V some special wood on this interior that you couldn't get on the regular XLRs, just special colors, different stuff like that. And Cadillac also put some suede Alcantara material on the interior of this car. They put that on the door panels as well as the seats. Cadillac did that on all their V cars for the first generation just to make them a little bit more special, and I personally love it. But my first impressions of this interior is that it is very nice, but there are some cheaper plastics on the top of the door panels, also on the dashboard. The metal on the inside of this interior also feels a little bit cheap for some reason. It kind of feels almost like plastic. So for $100,000, it really doesn't seem like it is up to par for the price tag. However, it is still a nice interior overall. So taking a look at the door panel here, it is very nice. There is some leather on the armrest there, nicely stitched, very beautiful. There is some wood right by the electronic door release button. There are also switches for our automatic up and down windows. There's also mirror controls there, a vent, and our door lock and unlock buttons. On the door sill is a metal V logo. It looks very beautiful, very cool to see that when you're welcomed into the inside of the XLR-V. Let's get inside of the XLR and see what it's like. Okay, inside of the Cadillac XLR-V. So these seats are actually quite soft and comfortable for being a V performance car built for the track. These seats are still extremely soft. The microfiber suede material feels really nice to sit on, but it does still have some bolstering in the seat so it can help keep you in place when you're going around corners. However, I do kind of wish that the headrest would adjust. This headrest doesn't move, so that could make these seats a little bit less comfortable. There are controls to adjust the seat by my left thigh. You can of course move the seat forwards, backwards, up and down. There are also lumbar controls there to adjust the lumbar. And there are buttons towards the front of the seat for the memory seats. The buttons are actually upside down so the driver can lean forward and read what they say. But what is really neat is that there are some speakers right on the left and right side of the headrest, so you can easily hear your music when you're driving down the road. This car does have a Bose sound system, and it sounds very good top up and top down. Then ahead of me is our steering wheel, and it has the Cadillac crest right in the center, which is nice. It is leather wrapped. It does have buttons on the left and right side of it to control the radio, and the steering wheel is also tilt and telescoping. It has a button down on the left side to do so. On the left side of the steering column is our stalk for our cruise control as well as our headlight controls. On the right side are controls for our rain sense wipers. And then behind the steering wheel are our beautiful analog gauges. These gauges were designed by Bulgari. Similarly to the key fob, Cadillac let Bulgari design these gauges to make them look a little bit more special. And as you can see, there is Bulgari written in the plastic around the speedometer. However, the 2009 XLR that I showed you guys didn't have that Bulgari written in there because Cadillac ended their relationship with them. It's also really cool to remind you that this is the V XLR, is that there is a V badge in the tachometer. It looks very nice. It doesn't light up or anything at nighttime, which would have been cool, but it is there to remind you that this is a special vehicle. And as far as the gauges go, there isn't really anything too special here. We have our tachometer on the left, our speedometer on the right, and then our oil and engine temperatures on the left, as well as our battery volt reader and our fuel gauge on the right. So nothing too special, but you do have everything there you need to see. There is also a driver information center there. There are buttons on the right side of the dashboard to the right of the gauges, which you can use to cycle through all the information. You can see your tripometers, average miles per gallon, all the stuff you'd expect to see. And on the left side of the gauges are some buttons to control the heads-up display. There is a heads-up display on this XLR, which is extremely advanced for the time. Many Corvettes at the time had this as well, but it's really cool to see it in the XLR. It can show you your speed, but it can also show you when your high beams are on, your turn signals, what gear you're in if you're manually shifting. Some pretty cool stuff. And then below those buttons, just above my left knee, are two buttons to open up the trunk or the fuel door on the left side of the car. And below the dashboard by my left foot is a little plastic lever. That is there to open up the door in case if your battery dies, so you won't be stuck inside of your XLR. And then possibly my favorite button inside of this car, we have the ignition switch button on the right side of the dashboard above my right knee. It glows up green before you start up the car. It looks very cool. All you have to do is push that button to start it at the top, and the car will fire up to life. This car does have keyless start, keyless entry, all that stuff, which is very convenient, especially for a luxury car from 2006. And what's really neat when you start up the XLR-V is the driver information center says XLR by Cadillac, and the heads-up display also says XLR and shows a Cadillac badge. Really fancy, really cool way to start up your XLR. Then looking towards the center of the dashboard, we have two vents here, and we also have a button to turn on or off the hazard lights. Below that is the screen to control our radio as well as our navigation. What's very nice is that this screen is fairly responsive, especially for 2006. It's pretty easy to set up your favorite radio stations. You also have a home and away feature, and the XLR-V also came with XM satellite radio. The navigation feature is pretty easy to use. You just press the navigation button and the map pops up. You can kind of drag or point on the screen wherever you want it to go. And if you wanted to switch out the map disc in your XLR-V, all you have to do is press this button on the screen that says tilt. The screen will lower down and then the map CD will reveal itself. And below the navigation screen is the slot for our CD player. This does have a 6 CD changer in it. And then below that are the controls for our dual zone climate control in this car. Each person on each side of the car can adjust whatever temperature they want, which is really nice. We also have heated and cooled seats in the XLR-V. All you have to do is press the heated seat button and it'll cycle through high and low heated seats and then high and low cooled seats. All very nice. It's kind of funny that they use the same button to do both, but it's nice that both heated and cooled seats are there. Then on the center console is our shifter knob. It's made out of really nice wood and leather. It feels very nice, very easy to use, and you can also push it off to the left to go through the gears yourself if you wanted to. To the right of that is really nice wood, and underneath it are two cup holders. There is a cigarette lighter so you can plug in something if you wanted to. And then behind that are two more buttons. On the right, as I showed you guys before, is the button to control the hardtop. And on the left is the traction control button. You can use this button to turn off the traction control or the StabiliTrak and traction control at the same time, but it can also be used to turn on performance mode. It'll actually show in the driver information center that performance mode is on. What this does is it's basically a lower mode for traction control and StabiliTrak. It doesn't quite turn off the systems, but it lowers them so you can spin the tires a little bit. It's essentially made for sportier driving. And as far as storage goes, there is a nice center console here. You can open it up with this little button, and inside there is a fair amount of space. However, it's not very deep at all, which is a little bit of a shame, but there is a light in there as well as another cigarette lighter plug, so you can plug something in there if you wanted to. And there's even a coin holder, so you can put your change in there. Very convenient. There is another storage compartment in between the two seats. There are two shelves in there, a lot of room. On the right side of the car, there is a nice big glove box, plenty of room for all your stuff. And on both of the doors, there are little pockets that can be opened up for you to put your things into. And what's neat is that inside of the glove box is where Cadillac put the valet mode button, so then valets can't get into your garage or into the trunk in case if you have valuables in there. And then above me are the visors. They do have a mirror inside of them as well as lights, but on the driver's side is the garage home link buttons. And also up here there is a mirror, nothing too special, made out of plastic, but it does have lights on the bottom of the mirror to help light up the car even when the roof is down. And then above the storage space in between the two seats is a little plastic screen, Inside of that are actually lights to show you when you're backing up to something. And the only other thing to mention on the passenger side of the vehicle is that there is a nice V badge there. It is on the dashboard, looks very nice, but it isn't that big, so it's not too gaudy, but it is nice that Cadillac put a reminder there for your passengers to see that this is a high performance car. There's also a couple important things to mention about the owner's manual. Inside of the owner's manual, there is first of all a DVD there that just talks about the personalization of the XLR, and there's also a really beautiful looking pen in there. It says XLR-V on it, and it looks like it's made out of metal or something, and to use the pen is even cooler. When you twist the pen, either a black tip or the silver tip reveals itself. The black one is just a dud, but the silver one is what you use to actually write with. I don't know how it actually works to switch out the ends like that when you twist it, but it looks really awesome. All right, now that we took a good look at the exterior and the interior of the XLR-V, let's go ahead and take it for a drive. I can't wait to do this. Yes, driving the Cadillac XLR-V, my dream car. So one of the most surprising things about driving this car isn't necessarily its performance or the road feel, the steering feel. It's actually how comfortable it is. When I reviewed the 2009 XLR, I thought that was an extremely comfortable riding car, pretty fast, sleek, but still just very comfortable. And I was thinking, you know, the XLR-V, it's probably going to be pretty aggressive, really harsh ride, but it's really not. I really don't feel like I'm in an XLR-V. It feels a lot like a regular XLR, not quite as comfortable, but still, even with the bigger wheels and probably stiffer magnetic ride control, it's very, very nice in here, very comfortable. I could easily take this on a road trip, no problem, and be comfortable the whole way. And I think that's kind of something that these XLRs have an advantage over many newer cars today, is that so many sports cars today are uncomfortable, and there really isn't a reason for that except just to make them more track capable. But most of the time when you drive these cars, you're not going to be on a track. Even though this car is made for the track, you're going to be driving it off track way more than you are on. It definitely still has a tough enough suspension to do those kind of things, and confident enough steering and braking. It is still the full package, but the nice thing is that it doesn't sacrifice on the comfort. And the nice thing is, even when you're driving this car slowly and you're not driving it aggressively, it doesn't sound like a super aggressive car. It doesn't rattle you to death. And I feel like a lot of performance cars, they are just always performance, and they don't make it so it's a comfortable and nice, pleasurable experience. But this car, it's quiet when you need it to be quiet, but it's loud and aggressive when you need it to be loud and aggressive, which I think is just great. All right, guys, let's see if we can do a quick 0 to 60. Now, I'm gonna leave it out of performance mode and keep the traction control and everything on, just because I don't want to spin the tires. I want to see if you can get the best time possible. So here we go. 30, 50, 60. Wow. Yeah, the tires did spin a little bit, but that still hooked up really quick. I'm just blown away by it. I think that's really good. I love the sound of the engine, first of all. It sounds amazing. But although it is supercharged, you really don't hear much of the supercharger whine. And if you guys watched my Buick GSX video, you'd know that I like the sound of the supercharger. But Cadillac did say that they tried to get rid of that sound, just, I guess, because it's a luxury car. But I personally think it sounds cool. I think it would have been great for them to have kept it. Yes, the top is now down, but I will keep the windows up just to help with the wind noise a little bit here. But that's also one of the other things about this XLR that I really love, that it's a hardtop convertible. I do, of course, love riding around in convertibles, but I love it when they're hardtops, because when the top is up, it looks like a normal car, it feels like a normal car. Even when you're driving it on the inside, it feels like a normal car. It's not as noisy as a soft top, you're not really as exposed to the elements. And honestly, I just think it looks better being a hardtop. I just don't like soft top convertibles as much. And I gotta say, that was so cool. The acceleration was truly incredible. I really feel like I need to do that again. Maybe we can hear the engine even a little bit better now that the top's down. Let's see, I'll hit it from about 25 miles per hour and we'll see how she does. This thing is speedy. That is so impressive. If you guys ever get a chance to either own one of these or to just drive one around, I highly recommend it. It's just so much fun. That just doesn't get old. It does not get old. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly had a lot of fun with this thing. Once again, this is my favorite car. I just had to have it when this came up for sale, and I've been waiting to get one of these for quite some time now, and I'm really happy that I got to share this car with you guys and to hopefully teach you a little bit about why I like this car and why I think it's so special. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.